Good evening. At this time, we'll start the meeting for the Dysart Unified School District, and we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And first up, we have audience with individuals. Okay, so we don't have any of those tonight. All right, so then we'll start then with the superintendent update.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight, a few quick items. I'm thrilled to share that Jill Hoppy, our principal at Canyon Ridge Elementary, has been selected as one of the 2025 Maricopa County Exemplary Principal Award recipients by Maricopa County. So if you remember back, this award recognizes exceptional school leaders who have fostered a thriving school culture, maintained high teacher retention, and driven student achievement on their campus. So we want to congratulate Jill Hoppy on that award. And we'll be celebrating soon. I will get that information to the board. And next, I want to just thank everybody, the four campuses mainly, the governing board for graduation that went off last week. We had actually 5 graduations. We had promotion from Sundown in our 4 high schools. Everybody did an amazing job, put in a lot of time and effort to pull off 4 great events, and just want to say thank you for everybody involved, and thank you for making a great evening for our kids. So with that, that's it.
Thank you, Dr. Croto. Next, we have governing board update.
Nothing from me.
Okay. All right, I attended on May 6th the Freedom Traditional Spring Concert for band, orchestra, and choir. Great job, students. On the 9th, I attended, Sundown Mountains ceremony, and I just want to say thank you to Principal Musey and staff for a wonderful ceremony. Congrats to all the graduates. And then on May 14th, I attended all 4 high school graduations. So congratulations to all the students. I really want to thank our safety team, all the admin staff, and for our DSB for broadcasting and allowing parents that weren't able to attend to watch it online. So that's all I have.
I also attended the 4 Dysart High School graduations last Wednesday. And it was a great day of celebration for all the seniors. Almost all the students stood up when the principals named all of their clubs, activities, and academic achievements that the students had been involved in. And the band and choirs were excellent. And I also attended the Sundown Mountain graduation. So I'd like to thank wish all the seniors the best in their future endeavors. Thank you.
I too attended the high school graduations and want to wish all the students the best of luck. It was an incredible experience, and I was thankful I could be there.
Thank you. Just want to also echo Dr. Croto's sentiments for Principal Jill Hoppy, and just congratulations for just an outstanding award. Thank you for all that you do. I also attended the Freedom Traditional Band and Choir concert, and that was so much fun. Good to see all of the students just having a good time performing their art. I also attended the Sundown promotion ceremony, and it was, as usual, a beautiful event. Going forward, I also attended all 4 high school graduations. And just want to say a special thanks to everyone involved in pulling that off. We had, as many of us know, we had a last-minute change from the stadium to the arena. And it was just such an incredible event and much more intimate than the stadium has been. It was just a really neat experience just to have that at the arena, very special. And that's all I have. Next up, we have the consent agenda, item D1. I will entertain a motion.
Would actually like to ask that we remove an item. Just one moment. Would be on E4, the overnight, approval of overnight and out-of-state travel. And it would be item, where'd it go? The Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, Las Vegas, Nevada, line item, board outs for $2,300.
That would have been moved to item D7, is that correct? Okay, I have it. I just hit refresh again, just in case. Hold on, sorry. Can I just make the motion? I move to approve consent agenda items as presented, with exception of, can you remind me what that was? E4. With the exception of E4.
I second the motion.
Motion carries. Are you okay with me moving forward? Okay. Moving on to item, information discussion, item F1. Dr. Croto?
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight, we are following up on an information report on our Spalding pilot program that we had scheduled by board request. So I will turn it over to Dr. Asai to handle this item.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. It is my pleasure to present with our Coordinator for Research and Achievement, Ms. Erin Morris, on what we're learning from our Spalding pilot.
Madam President, members of Cabinet, members of the board and Cabinet, thank you for having me. This evening, I will be going over data on Spalding instruction at Countryside and all other non-Spalding schools. Sorry. This evening, we are going to look at Dibble's data of both kindergarten and first grade students across the district. We reviewed Dibble's reading composite scores. As you know, students take this assessment 3 times a year, beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of year. Dibble's indicates if students are acquiring grade level literacy skills needed to become proficient readers, whereas AASA measures how well students know the state standards. In the following slides, you will see 3 groups of data from Freedom, Countryside, and all other non-Spalding schools that have kindergarten and first grade. First, we will look at the combined percentage of kindergarten and first grade students who scored at or above benchmark at the beginning, middle, and end of year. The chart on the left is the 23-24 school year and the first year of implementation of Spalding at Countryside. And the chart on the right is this current school year, Countryside's second year of implementation. In looking at the end of year percent of students at or above benchmark, we can see that last year, Countryside had 39% of their students at or above benchmark, compared to this year, where 53% of students are finishing at or above benchmark. At Freedom, each year they have about 90% of their students finish the year at or above, and the non-Spalding schools have about 61% of their students finish at or above benchmark. Now we will look at the same data but broken down by grade level. In 23-24, kindergarten's first year of Spalding implementation for both teachers and students, Countryside had 48% of students end the year at or above benchmark. In 24-25, during the teacher's second year implementing Spalding and the student's first year receiving Spalding instruction, 69% of students end the year at or above benchmark. Freedom averaged 90% of their students ending the year at or above benchmark over the 3-year span. And non-Spalding schools averaged 69% of students ending the year at or above benchmark. Now looking at first grade, in the 23-24 school year, a year with no Spalding implementation for teachers and students, Countryside had 32% of students end the year at or above benchmark. In 24-25, the first year of Spalding implementation for teachers and the second year of Spalding instruction for students, 37% of students ended the year at or above benchmark. Over the same 3-year span, Freedom averaged 84% of students ending the year at or above benchmark, while non-Spalding schools averaged 53% of students ending the year at or above benchmark. Next, we'll discuss a few limitations. There are 2 key limitations to consider. First, Freedom operates under a unique traditional school model, which may impact comparability to other schools. Second, it doesn't account for the day-to-day differences of a school, such as intervention programs or teacher assignments. For example, Countryside had 1 long-term sub, and the non-Spalding schools had 3 long-term subs in the 24-25 school year. This concludes the Spalding data presentation, and Dr. Asai and I will now stand for any questions.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Maybe just for our, some of our new board members and maybe some audience members, can you speak to the differences? You mentioned like the unique environment at Freedom, maybe compared to some of our other schools. Can you speak to that a little bit?
So Freedom, being a traditional school, has a different structure to it. Freedom's our only school with uniforms. They do have a very like, I do, we do, you do, a very direct approach to all they do. Another unique thing about Freedom is if you look at the beginning of the year data, I always say beginning of the year data was not my students, that's what their parents sent them with. So they do come in at a higher rate of reading for the beginning of the year, 74% compared to 38 or 45% with other schools. So those are some of the things that do make Freedom unique.
So when you say they come in at a 74%, is that the kindergarten, or are you talking kindergarten and first grade? Because we had
It
both
is kindergarten
of
and first grade combined. Kindergarten comes in a little bit higher than first grade. If we were going to deseg it, and I don't have that data at my fingertips, I could provide it. They do, Erin, do you remember for kindergarten?
If you go to the next slide, where it's broken apart.
That's all together. Those are end of the year.
But that's kindergarten, yeah.
Yeah.
No, we could get it for you, but they tend to come in higher.
So I'm just perplexed that we would have kids coming in at a higher reading score or doing Spalding, and then the next year they go down to a lower.
So if
Can you
you
explain that?
Yeah, if you look throughout the year, so if we look at, let's go to, well, we'll do beginning of the year, mid-year, and end of year. So the DIBELS target changes with time, and it changes with grade level and what they're expected to do. So when they're in kindergarten, I'm expected to say, This is a T, T says ta. I may be expected to read some nonsense words like tat. When I get into first grade, I actually have to read sentences, so it tends to go down. Not all kids start reading fluently at the same time, so something called the oral reading fluency comes into play in first grade. So typically in first grade, if you look, the results do go down a little. On this one, if you look at kindergarten, all schools will use Freedom because it's on top. They were in the 90s all year at the end of the year for kinder, but then it drops down to the 79 and 80s for first grade. So it's not that kids lose ground, but they're not making progress at the pace it is. I did want to point out something else on this slide. So Spalding involves 2 years of training. So when we see that 48 in the middle of Countryside, those teachers had only had 1 year of Spalding training, and then they implemented. And that's a new group too. Each of those kindergarten groups are a new group of kids. One was the 22, 23, 23, 24, 24, 25. Those are end of the year data for new groups of kids. In the second year, after those kindergarten teachers had had 2 years of training, mind you, it is a new group, but you do see better results. In the first grade, in the 24, 25 column, that is with only 1 year of the Spalding training, and the whole Spalding training actually takes 2 summers. I think it's just important to have some context, just like who is Freedom, also around what does the Spalding program look like, and that could account for, those first graders. I'm interested to see in 25, 26, do they go up like the second year did with kindergarten? I can't tell you that yet because we're not there.
Right, thank you. So what else besides uniforms and the kids coming in at a higher, with the traditional format that Freedom does that the other schools are not doing? Can you provide some more clarity?
With the reading, with phonics, so we're not talking about, we need to understand that Spalding and 95% aren't reading programs, right? They're phonics programs. When we talk about reading, we talk about 5 things. We talk about phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary fluency, and comprehension. Spalding, or 95%, only does 2 of those. They do the phonics and the phonemic awareness. So it's kind of like I'm teaching just notes with those programs versus the other 3 are covered in our reading program. So the main difference when we're talking about phonics for this, 95% is a little more scripted. It requires less training. So the teachers at Freedom, I would say, have more training. They do go through the 72 phonograms versus the 6 syllable types that 95% covers. So there are some differences between the other schools and Freedom and how they teach phonics.
And under our pilot, did we do the Freedom model, or did we just do the 2 pieces? Because if you're looking at the scores that Freedom has, and you're saying Spalding only does the 2 main areas, why is Freedom doing so well and Countryside doesn't seem to be improving? And I understand the 2-year training program, but so I do get that, but what is the difference that Freedom is so successful?
I think it has to do, it could have to do with monitoring fidelity of program. Freedom does have less teachers for a principal to monitor. The principal's detention's not divided. And I just think when I'm thinking about monitoring, at Countryside, I have a phase program, I have STC, and I have 8 preschool classrooms on top of all my other K-4 classrooms. I know, when I was a teacher, I'd like to say I gave my best every day, and I did, but when my principal came in, I stood up a little bit more once in a while. So it could be the frequency of monitoring and those expectations for when I'm in the classroom. Like I said, I do think some of it with the phonics is attributed to the base. Most kids, we see from that data, come in knowing A says ah. And so it's easier to build on. It's harder to make gains, but it's easier to build on. So my scores, once I get in the 90s, it's hard to go from 90 to 92. So that's one of the things I want to be cautious with Freedom's data, is you can look on the next slide and say, oh, well, they went up 15 and Countryside went up 23. That's one way to look at it. But because Freedom was already high, it's hard to stay high.
Right.
And that's something people take for granted. That it's hard to do.
So under this Spalding program, we only did K in first grade, correct?
We're rolling it in 1 grade level at a time because we
Right.
didn't want to switch it with, hey, in kindergarten you learned the 6 syllable types with 95, and now you're learning 72 phonograms. So what we did is we rolled it into kinder, and this year we did kinder and first. The plan is for next year to do kinder first and second, and then kinder first, second, and third.
Okay.
We're excited to see how that rolls out, because if my phonics are stronger, really my fluency should be stronger. Anita Archer would tell you the biggest prediction of comprehension is fluency. And that's what the AASA, our state test, measures.
Right.
And that gets to, and we kind of cut short about what are possible next steps. So as we're looking at next steps, we could talk about continuing the countryside at pilot next year, which we had originally planned to do, expanding the pilot, Spalding pilot to other schools, or convening a committee to review the feasibility of expanding Spalding district-wide. I did kind of put in there some of the estimated time and cost. The time has to do with training teachers in the summer. You have to get teachers who are committed to coming to 40 hours of training in the summer, or we would have to work it in throughout the 26-27 school year, be early release Mondays or something for the next year. We could find 40 hours there. Spalding does charge us about $800 a teacher, and then the materials. So that's how much it'll cost at Countryside next year. Expanding the pilot to another school would be about $7,600 per grade level. If we choose to do a committee to look at it at this time, it would be about 20 hours. Staff doesn't get paid to serve on committees. They do it just to further their professional commitment and research in the field.
I'd like to make a comment on one of the slides, the percent of students at or above benchmark comparison, all kinder and first grade.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when on the first grade, you start with Countryside at 30%, and then they end up at the end of the year at 53%. So they do increase by 23%.
Indeed, they do.
And that's the same as Freedom, except they start at 75% and end up at 90%. So they're, 15% higher. But I mean, Countryside did do well with the first grade with Spalding. I don't understand why the 23-24, is that because they got a substitute?
23-24, I do believe, Chantel, you did have one substitute. Yeah, there was a substitute that took over in kinder. So that is one of the limitations, I guess, of Spalding, is when a sub comes in or someone comes in. 95% does not require as much training because it's so scripted. I'm basically reading the script. But when a sub comes in, to get them that 40 hours of training, we really don't have a good method for that. But that could account for the lower scores in 23-24. Also in 23-24, only kindergarten was doing, only kindergarten was doing Spalding, but at that same time, I think that's where that dip was with the 48. First grade had the 32, and they were doing 95. So,
And then also you used, it says non-Spalding schools. That was like 14 other schools. Could have that been different if you had just picked one other school, or
it could have. I mean, definitely it would have been non-Spalding schools. I mean, you have schools that are huge. You have schools that are small. You have schools comparable to Freedom, where kids, I think, Canyon, they probably come in at about 70% the beginning of the year reading. You have Thompson that probably does a little less coming in the door reading.
Okay.
Why was Countryside picked for this?
Countryside was picked, basically, Connie and Chantel have a good relationship. They're very close to each other. They've gone to each other's school to monitor fidelity because we wanted checks. We wanted to make sure what was happening at Countryside was the way Connie was doing it at Freedom. With Spalding, because Spalding does not have a Tier 2 and Tier 3 intervention, we do use at Freedom, we use 95% for our Tier 2 and Tier 3 for intervention. So if a kid's in intervention at Freedom, they do get that. So it was important to us that the principals were able to go to each other's schools and observe and give each other feedback as well.
Was Countryside the only candidate when this was brought up as a pilot?
Countryside was the one we decided to do the pilot on. Like I said, that could be a discussion. Is there another school we would like to see this expanded to?
Was Countryside picked because it was a lower performing school against the other elementaries, or I'm just trying to understand a little bit more background?
Countryside was picked because of its proximity. It's easy for us to get over there. It's just in that proximity. We're all three in a row between the district office, so Adriel can go and look, so we could go and look, so the principals could talk.
Okay. My question, it actually goes off of what Mary Jane kind of asked. I would have liked to seen the data a little bit cleaner, where you would have picked a school that kind of resembled Countryside test-wise, instead of grouping all 14 schools or all the non-Spalding schools together, because that kind of can sway the data one way or another.
We could definitely find somebody that has the same, when you say the same, do you mean the same size, the same scores coming in?
So typically the same size and the same scores going in, and that's why I asked if Countryside was picked for a particular reason, if like it was considered a lower performing school or something like that, I would ask if, like, at that moment in time, we would try to match another elementary school.
It would have been hard to match a school with Freedom to have a
Not with
school
Freedom,
that-
with Countryside.
Oh, with Countryside,
Yeah.
and do 2 pilots at 2 different places?
No, not
or-
2 pilots. What I'm asking is, so we can do the statistics, you'd had Freedom, Countryside, and one other school that
Okay.
was performing like Countryside prior to the pilot.
Yeah, we can definitely bring that back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I got several questions.
Okay.
Because I'm the one who brought this up, because I'm excited that we are doing the pilot program for Spalding. My first question is, Freedom has been doing Spalding since its
Inception.
inception.
Yes.
So I'm assuming, I could be wrong, but when they started, I'm sure their numbers were up and down until the teachers were actually completely trained in knowing Spalding.
I'm looking at Principal Wolford because I don't have that historical data. She might, they've always been high, Connie. Yeah,
They've always been high?
Yes.
Okay. And then with the non-Spalding schools, they're all using 95%, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we've been using 95% since when? 2006, 2009?
2006 or 2009?
For Tier 2.
No, just for Tier 1.
We have been using it since 2014, or 2015. We adopted 2014. When Move On When Reading became long, we had to have a Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. And then for Tier 1, we've implemented for 3 years, and that's the phonics 4. When we adopted HMH, we actually had to step back and go online because of the pandemic. So we were doing Florida virtual. It is impossible to teach virtually kids phonemic awareness or phonics. So our teachers begged, we need just a phonics core program. We've got to clean up and clean up fast. So that's when we brought in our HMH for fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. But for phonological awareness skills and phonics skills, we had to get something that was true to honoring our state standards with the 6 syllable types, because with the syllable types, we know alone an open or a closed syllable addresses 50% of our English language, 50 to 70%. So if kids know closed syllable, like the word cat, then they're going to be able to chunk words. So we had to get something quickly because our data showed that we were in trouble for these foundational skills. So it was about 3 years ago that we implemented, right after we got back into in-person off of virtual learning.
So 95% was started in 14.
At a Tier 2 intervention level only, not as a Tier 1.
When was it a Tier 1?
Tier 1 was 3 years ago, so it would have been 21, 22.
Okay. Okay. And how long has Freedom been using Spalding?
6
Since
years?
18?
6 years.
For 6 years? Okay. Because I'm just curious that if we've been using 95% pretty much as long as Spalding, and we're not even seeing close to the numbers, and Spalding is using it with Fidelity. Okay. All right, those were my questions. Thank you.
Dr. Asai, before Freedom opened, it was, I think, it was Parkview, I believe. And I know that when we were transitioning to open it as Freedom Traditional, there were certain requirements that would have needed to be met to be able to be enrolled in that school. Is that correct?
Originally, Freedom was opened, yes, as a traditional school, and I believe at the time there was an application process. Was there not? Yes, there was an application process to get into Freedom.
Right, like there couldn't have been like maybe excessive absences, severe behavior issues, things that a Countryside would not be able to.
So Countryside is designed to be a neighborhood school. I have my kids going there, and Freedom is an open enrollment school. We have no busing into Freedom. So, I mean, we don't have applications to get into Freedom anymore.
Right.
But you do have to apply for open enrollment.
But initially, though?
Initially, yes.
Okay. And just for context, I mean, we've got 3 board members up here that have at least one child going to Freedom. I know many staff members of Dysart have their children or grandchildren going to Freedom because we know it's great leadership, great staff, great curriculum.
As did my niece and nephew, yes.
Right, right. So it is really like the choice school of people in the know that are aware of the benefits that the curriculum has there. And I think that is one of the unique pieces that we can't discount when it comes to Freedom. I myself have said I didn't like the terminology sometimes that people would say, oh, well, Freedom has different kinds of parents. But I see that a little bit more now as far as just some of the limitations that maybe some of our other schools have in implementing something like this. Not to say that Countryside can't be, super successful. And I don't discount the results as being unsuccessful, as they stand right now. I think that there's great potential for this, especially, when we're considering that long-term sub. If I could ask, I don't know if Mrs. McNeese can speak to this, but, how do staff feel about, Spalding?
I don't think we officially know. Ms. McNeese can tell you. We haven't officially surveyed. It might be a great idea to officially survey teachers, but Chantel can speak to what she knows.
Sorry to put you on the spot. Thank you.
Madam President, Governing Board, our staff has embraced Spalding. Of course, it is a new learning for them, and they have embraced it, and they have seen positive results from their students from it. But like any program, the longer that we teach it, the more experienced we become, the more well-versed we become, and we will get better at it.
Thank you so much. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President, before we go on, just thoughts maybe just in the discussion. There were some options on there. We plan on continuing with the pilot. This is not a voting item or that, but just to take the temperament. Does anybody really have strong feelings one way or another? We intend to continue that pilot at Countryside and continue the training and the experience and teachers getting better at implementing it. So that is our intention.
Thank you. And I think that we're going to be having a curriculum study session coming up in the next month or so.
Most likely July or August, yes.
Okay, we could maybe talk about this a little bit more then.
Okay,
Does
that's
that
great.
sound good?
Yep.
But if anyone else has comments, go ahead.
One thing I just want to say is I think every child in the school district deserves the same great education, no matter what school they go to. So we need to keep that in mind when we look at curriculums and how they're affecting the students, the community. If it's positive, we should really look into it.
And I believe that was almost Member Drake's exact words when she asked for the pilot.
Thank you for doing it. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And we will continue to monitor, and we will bring back the results from a like school.
Thank you.
And I think a survey of the teachers would be a good idea.
We can definitely do that. I love
Thank
that.
you.
Alrighty, and our next presentation is on the information on district writing requirements. That's also me. The purpose of the review on district writing requirements was really to review where cursive is taught in the Dysart Unified School District. Before you, and the board has these printed out so you can see them a little bit better. Even with my glasses, I can't see this that well. You'll see all this, these are just language arts standards that a third grade teacher is expected to teach. There are 49 standards that the state has outlined in ELA, not in math, social studies, and science, but just in ELA for third grade, 49 in the 180 days. Of those, the state went through and they said 15 of these are essential. So if you look at the green highlighted, those are the standards the state has said, we understand that you're going to teach all of these, but we expect your kids to get to mastery in these 15 standards. And most of these 15 standards are what makes up our state label. So when the kids take their test, the AASA at the end of the year, the majority of their test questions will be on these essential standards. We are happy to have the essential standards. They are new, so we are thrilled. We used to have to do our own essential standards and guess. You will notice the little red in the third box over, the red, that is where writing comes in. Writing is under Writing Fluency 1, and the standard reads, demonstrate and apply handwriting skills. A, read and write cursive letters, uppercase and lowercase. B, transcribe ideas legibly in cursive and manuscript with appropriate spacing and indentation. This is taught daily as noted in the HMH Pacing Guide. HMH is our reading curriculum for third grade, and it outlines it. So this is what the HMH Pacing Guide looks like. Teachers get this. It tells them, here's what you're teaching in week 1. And if you look over in the second column, it talks about handwriting. So in week 1 of second grade, they are learning their lowercase I and lowercase t. If you look below that, they are learning in week 2 lowercase u and lowercase w. As these are explicitly taught, teachers give little lined papers. We all remember the lined papers. Here's how you make an I. The teacher models. Then you practice your I's, and so forth. From there, students practice at centers. They practice in their daily work. This is a sample. As you can see, we have a ways to go with this sample. Although it was in math, we still need capital letters and punctuation. But I had just asked principals, hey, can you tell me that kids are using their cursive? And these were pictures that were sent from a principal of students using their cursive to take notes in math and explain in math, which gives us evidence that we know it is being taught. We need to obviously refine that a little, but it's there. I will stand for questions. Anything about cursive?
Yes, sorry, I'm going to go. The 3.3, if you go back to the slide, with the, yes, thank you. Demonstrate and apply handwriting skills, read and write cursive letters, upper and lowercase. But when I go to the next page, week 1, I'm learning lowercase.
Yes. So I took a clip out of the map. The whole map is about 30 pages. They do explicitly teach the uppercase as well.
Okay, and why are we starting it in third grade and not second grade?
I'm sorry, in second grade. I misspoke. They start in second grade, and then they reloop in third grade. The state defines it in third grade, so it's a state standard in third grade. However, we have it mapped in starting in second grade.
And how do we carry it forward after they learn it? Do we have them do their paperwork in cursive for classrooms as they're moving forward in the grades? Or how do we ensure that they continue using it?
After we teach it, we really don't require that they're doing anything in cursive. Lots of assignments are done via computer, some are done, they print, and some choose to use manuscript.
Thank you.
So it's basically 2 years of using the cursive. That's pretty much it.
It's 2 years of instructing in cursive. I guess I would liken it to, we teach them to add ones by ones in second grade. We don't loop back to it in sixth grade. It's used in context after that for other things. I guess that you check a little bit more. We do give kids choice in the way they write currently.
Okay.
It's not a standard primarily it's not a standard after third grade, so we don't really enforce it.
Okay.
If it was a standard, we would enforce it, correct?
If it was a standard, we would, yes.
Thank you.
I did jump online. I was trying to do a little bit of research, and I came across it. It says that the Arizona Cursive Writing Standards say State Board of Education in 2016 approved new academic standards known as Arizona College and Career Ready Standards, which require cursive writing instruction through the 5th grade. They say by third grade, students are expected to read and write in cursive, ensuring they can create readable documents by the end of fifth grade. So do we go up to the fifth grade or just stop at third?
We do not currently have it mapped to fifth grade. That's something that we can definitely go back and do.
Okay, because I would really like to see this intertwined or incorporated through, actually K through 8 if we could. Because the more research I was doing on cursive, because I grew up with cursive. That's all I knew. That's all we were taught growing up. That's all I know, and there's even kids that can't even write their names. They can't sign anything. So I think it would be extremely important to bring it back. I know it's very time consuming, and I know a lot of people say it's outdated, just give them a Chromebook and have them type it. But to me, I'm all about cognitive learning, the whole writing paper, because of what you comprehend and retain on written materials. I think it's better for the kids. I think learning cursive helps with motor skills and the whole cognitive learning. So I think if it's possible, if we could probably incorporate this more in our curriculum.
And like I said, Member Drake, we could definitely incorporate it more. It comes to, when you look up here for a third grade teacher that has kids all across the spectrum, that some, especially if they transfer to us, may be way behind in reading a couple
Yeah.
grade levels. And I have these 49 to 15 standards to master, and my math and my science and social studies. I can't guarantee you that it's always going to be a priority, that I'm going to be able to get every kid there.
Right.
And all transparency.
Okay. No, I appreciate the honesty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item F3. Dr. Croto.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight, we're at the time of year for the superintendent's end-of-the-year goals. And if I can get this to work. There we go. Just a quick overview. You do have an executive session tonight. You do have all the data at your disposal, but I'm going to give a quick overview of where we stand, kind of like when we did the mid-year report in December, just to let you know where we stand. So starting off, our Goal A, these are the district goals and the governing board goals. We do have a study session coming up in June 2nd based on the district goals. Again, I align my goals to the district goals, and the schools align their goals to my goals. So it's important that we take the time to align all these and make sure we're all rowing in the right direction. So Goal A, the governing board goal, is academics. Every student in all schools will be prepared with the knowledge and skills to achieve college and career success. Goal 1 of that is design systems that promote academic achievement. Goal 2, design systems that promote college and career readiness. So where are we at on those? Goal 1, we have elementary benchmark data that indicates the district's on track to meet or exceed the AASA state averages in ELA and math proficiency. Our high school benchmark data indicates the district's on track to meet or exceed state average in ACT English, reading, and math. We have benchmark results that indicate the district's on track to maintain or improve proficiency among ESS students in both ELA math and supporting growth goals. So we are meeting those goals and moving towards achieving that. And that we will report more, as you know, as the scores become available and the state starts to release those in the next few months. Goal 2 is design systems that promote college and career readiness. We are on track to meet or exceed that goal. For the past 3 school years, the district has increased the number of students earning college credit. It has increased the number of students earning SEALs or internships. We are the leader in the SEALs for the state of Arizona, and we continue for the 2nd year in a row to be those leaders. And we increased our CCRI points, which is a huge indicator of our school labels at our high school levels. So that is Goal A. Goal B, culture and leadership. The governing board goal is Dysart Unified School District will recruit, train, and retain highly qualified staff to cultivate a culture of success. Goal 1 under that, under Goal B, is by the end of 24-25 school year, there'll be an increase in Dysart's recruitment efforts to hire staff. Goal 2 is by the end of this year, Dysart's customer service plan, Dysart Cares, will further be expanded. So those were the 2 goals set for me. The progress towards those goals is that to date in Goal 1, the district has attended or hosted 15 events. In our advertising strategies, evidence is strong growth in interest and activity at job fairs. Interviews increased by 51.9% this year. Walk-ins rose by 152%, and candidates recommend to hire went up 39.4%. As you know, our retention is off the charts, and that's a lot of efforts to this goal and the recruitment and retaining our teachers. Our digital display ads, we really focused on that. We cut the costs in half. The impressions and click-through rate has increased. So how many people are clicking on our ads, seeing our ads? We not only cut the cost, but we increased those impressions. Evidence increased employment ad reach and engagement. So as we look at those, we know we're out there, we're reaching people, we're doing a good job. We also launched the teacher preparation program, and it's been expanded this year to include the K-8 teacher prep program. This is a program where we are growing our own teachers. They come to us with bachelor's degrees. We've been approved by the state to grow these teachers and get them certified. So that has been a success. Goal 2. Goal 2 is we have launched Dysart Cares, and we have further expanded it. So we have kind of peeled that onion back, and now all administrators have participated in the customer service training. We are going to continue peeling that onion back more and more so we can get more people involved. As you know, last year we created that Dysart Cares plan, and now we're getting out of there and doing the things we need to do to put it into action. So goal C is our safety, a huge one. The governing board goal is that Dysart Unified School District culture will consistently be reflective of a safe and secure environment for all stakeholders. Something very near and dear to all of our hearts, and we take this goal very seriously, as we do all the goals, but safety is up there. So the goal 1 was by the end of the 24-25 school year, all campuses will have conducted safety checks, audits, and inspections. Goal 2 was throughout the 24-25 school year, we'll identify and implement additional safety protocols, policies, or procedures as necessary to current industry standards and practices. There's actually 4 goals in this Goal C. Goal 3 was throughout the 24-25 school year, 100% of all non-compliant items that require immediate attention is identified through the safety drills. Inspections and audits will be addressed. And Goal 4 was by the end of 24-25 school year, training will be expanded to ensure all groups are performing safety measures successfully with immediate support and feedback. So progress towards goals, on track to meet or exceed this goal. Part of that evidence was last board meeting when you had the opportunity to have an executive session on a lot of the safety things and the audits. So that we had 8 campuses fully completed with the safety audits. Again, those safety audits are very comprehensive, as you saw, and that is an ongoing part of our 3-year implementation cycle. And we will have 2 more of those by the end of this month. So they did one the other day, and I think they have 1 more to go before the end of the school year. We had 527 random safety checks by our safety team. They have been conducted, averaging 17 sites per week. So that is a great feat by our safety team. Each site's checked at least once per month, sometimes more. And all locally scheduled weekly drills have been verified through completion records and after action reviews, which serves as a centralized hub for drill-related documentation. So they review those drills and move through there. Goal 2 was identifying additional safety protocols. The safety teams implemented multiple system updates and cross-departmental processes with regular cabinet updates. We constantly have safety updates in cabinet, which provide the new additions and implementation plans, and we demonstrate ongoing progress in improving district-wide safety and emergency management. We're always looking for better ways to do safety and things we can do to make sure we meet those goals. Goal 3, 100% of non-compliant items, very important that we go back and address those. So all non-compliant items that were found at any of the safety checks, the audits, they were re-inspected and resolved within 30 school days, as evidenced by the 30, 60, 90 audit reviews. Again, you got some of that information last week. Data was recorded and reported monthly on items needed attention with resolution summary via the tactical audit briefs. And those are tracked extensively. It's not something we go do a check on a campus and then we say, well, you need to do better. They follow up, they make sure we're doing better. They go back and re-inspect and do those things they need to do to make sure we are complying. And the last goal, by the end of the 24-25 school year, training will be expanded to ensure all groups performing safety measures successfully. They do it successfully and have immediate support and feedback. We are on track to meet that. So our safety team meetings were conducted according to the safety calendar with topics that reflect the national school emergency events and those topics. We used a rubric to improve the quality of after-action reports. The reports were reviewed and analyzed with quarterly summaries shared with Cabinet. And our SSOs, our SROs, and security guards were observed to ensure training practices were followed. So that was the end of Goal C. Goal D is our resources. The governing board's goal, governing board's goal is the Dysart Unified School District will identify and maximize available resources to support student success. Again, our financial well-being of the district. To look at that, let's see, there we go. Goal 1 was using input from district stakeholders, identify, prioritize, allocate, and monitor budget resources to support the district goals. Again, we're on track to meet or exceed that. Records of annual meetings with department administrators and community committees have been maintained. Annual meetings have been held with all departments for requested budget allocations, and employee benefits trust board meetings have occurred quarterly. We have a transparent district and site budgets are available on our financial website. Again, I urge anybody that wants to look into our finances. There are continual rhetoric out there about how schools mismanage funds or we get dragged into other pots of other school districts that do not do it right, and that is simply not the case with this district. And I invite anybody that would like to look at those. They are available online, and we are open to anybody that wants to look at our financials. Monthly budget status reports for the district and site administration have been distributed to the governing board, departments, and schools. So we give you those reports. We do our normal board reports, and we have 5-year capital plan projection has been completed. So we are constantly trying to be proactive rather than reactive with the resources we have and develop plans to make that happen. And the last part is maintain fiscal compliance and accountability as evidenced by timely budgets, annual financial reports, and clean, unqualified external audit. Again, last meeting you had our external auditors come report that we did have an unqualified external audit opinion, which is the best that you can. We continuously do our professional development and training sessions with the finance staff and administration. We've done all budget and financial reports by the deadlines, mostly before. All mandated state and federal reports have been completed, and our annual financial or comprehensive financial report for 2024 has been completed. And our finance department continues to be top-notch and receive multiple awards for year after year, and I know the governing board is well aware of that. So with that, that's kind of the update of where we're at on my goals. You do have more supporting documents if you'd like to see them. They'll be in your executive session. But with that, I will stand for any questions or comments.
I have one question. When the goals were set up last year, was it clearly defined the difference between meet and exceeds?
There is no.
There was no?
No.
Okay.
I just want to make a comment. Thank you for this. This is wonderful, very detailed, and I'm excited on the direction that we're going. Goal B, where you talked about progress toward goals and evidence. I just want to say that I'm ecstatic that we got 94% of the 1,225 certified contracts were accepted. That's phenomenal. And as of May 15th, and you can confirm or deny this, 90% of the 995 notice of employments have been accepted, or is the number more?
Madam President, Governing Board members, that is inaccurate. It is 93%.
So that just shows the great leadership here, and I'm so proud to be on this board and work with all of you. So thank you. This is wonderful.
Thank you.
Agreed with everything that Board Member Drake just said. I think that the retention of our employees speaks volumes to the leadership here. Dr. Croto, you have an amazing perspective, but you also have an amazing team under you that continues to support your vision and the vision of the governing board, which I think are fairly aligned. So just appreciate everything that you do, everything that your team does in supporting our students and really focusing on academic achievement for everyone.
Thank you. And you're correct. I have an amazing team, and those feats on those goals are not me. It's them and their alignment and their drive to be the best. So the team is amazing.
Thank you. Part of that is the culture and the leadership that you bring, though. So I know you want to discount that, but I won't.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. If nothing else, we'll move on to action discussion G1. Dr. Croto.
Thank you, Madam President. We are now moving into the Steve Mattingly Show with a host of recommendations here, and to welcome some new people to our district, and we are very excited about that. So with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Mattingly.
Thank you, Dr. Croto. Madam President, Governing Board members, like Dr. Croto said, all 6 items are mine. The first 5 are recommendations to the board as far as our administration recommendations. So I'll say this in the beginning, that the process is very thorough. These are very highly qualified people, some of the best and the brightest we attract, and we also retain within our own system as well. So I'll start, that echoes loud. I'll start and just, so we'll just have them stand up instead of come to the podium and tell a joke or anything like that. We'll keep it simple. So I'll start with Ms. Ginger Richards, if she could stand and be recognized to the governing board. Ginger comes with us with 28 years total in education. She is total 17 years, and as an administrator, 7 of those years has been with the district successfully at Cimarron Springs. As the board docs say, she has a master's in educational leadership as well. So we're excited to recommend to the governing board your consideration to be the new principal at Valley Vista High School.
I'm very excited to make this motion. I move to approve the appointment of Ginger Richards as high school principal for 25-26 school year.
Second.
Motion carries. Congratulations.
Madam President, governing board members, the next recommendation, I would like to recognize Dr. Michael Fowler, if he could stand. Let me scoot this way, I'm sorry. We're very fortunate to make the recommendation as the interim principal at Cimarron Springs. With Michael's background, he comes with a total about 35 years total in education. What's really exciting is the 25 years in administration, ranging from an assistant superintendent and a successful principal and everything in between as a director, et cetera. So we're really fortunate to bring you tonight to recommend to the governing board as Dr. Fowler, the interim principal at Cimarron Springs.
I move to approve the appointment of Dr. Michael Fowler as interim elementary school principal for the 25-26 school year. Motion carries. Congratulations.
Madam President, governing board members, the next person I'd like to introduce and recommend is Aaron Keeling. Did I enunciate that right, Aaron? I'm so sorry if I didn't. All right. Sorry. I even went and asked him. I said, hey, give me your correct. Anyway, he comes with a background of 14 total years in the education, 3 years of experience in the administration. He also taught for Dysart Unified School District as well for 10 years. So we're excited about that, and has a master's in educational leadership. And it's Cabinet's honor to recommend to the governing board Mr. Keeling as the assistant principal at Asante Preparatory Academy.
I motion to approve the appointment of Aaron Killian as elementary assistant principal for the 2025-2026 school year.
Second.
I need to take this.
Motion carries. Congratulations.
The next recommendation, Madam President, governing board members, I'd like to introduce Tammy Tracy. Thank you, Tammy. Tammy comes with an extensive background as well, 29 years total in education. She's actually taught for the district for 7 years as well. She has a master's in educational leadership, and we would like to recommend to the governing board that she be appointed as the assistant principal at Kingswood Elementary.
I motion to approve the appointment of Tammy Tracy as elementary assistant principal for the 2025-2026 school year.
I second.
Motion carries. Congratulations.
And our final recommendation for administration, Madam President, governing board members, I'd like to introduce you to Amy Lundberg. And Amy has been in education for a total of 13 years. She's worked for the Dysart School District for 6 years. And we're excited to bring her aboard as an administrator at Freedom Traditional School with your consideration there.
I move to approve the appointment of Amy Lundberg as elementary assistant principal for the 25-26 school year.
Second.
Motion carries. Congratulations.
Dr. Credo, would you like me to continue with the last action discussion item?
No, you're good.
All right.
Oh, actually, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Yes, I will, as soon as President Dinsmore asks for it. I was thinking number 7.
Oh, okay. Moving on to action discussion, G6. Dr. Croto.
Thank you, Madam President. We are discussing the MOU tonight and bringing that for the approval for the board, and so I will have Mr. Mattingly introduce that topic.
Thank you, Dr. Cotto. Madam President, governing board members, this is an annual process that the governing board engages in annually. I would like to just give a brief background behind it. According to the records that I have access to, this memorandum of understanding between the board and the Teachers Association has been going since 2001. So that's, whether it's gone further than that, it may have, I just don't have access to that data. Please know that myself, Sarah Mendoza is here tonight, if I can recognize Sarah, along with myself and Dr. Jane Wyfridge have met since August, starting in August, reviewing this document for the board. And there's no concrete changes that you've received. You have an administrative document that allows you to see the changes and additions. Please know it's the updates pertain to updating accurate table of content, corrected titles that are no longer in use, so we're using correct titles. That's not a mistake, just things change over time, even in 1 year. Also, we're recommending that we change some of the vernacular, that loosen up or tighten up, depending on what we're talking about, that when responsibilities are needed or flexibility is needed. We deleted groups, titles, companies' names if they're no longer in use. We eliminated those. Any type of activity that's no longer in place or not our practice, we eliminated those as well for accuracy. And then any acronyms that weren't defined, we would define the acronyms. You'll see those changes in there as well. And then this is just a writing style. We eliminated using the first and second person in there. In other words, we got rid of you and we said the employee. Those are the minimum changes. There's, like I said, there's no dramatic changes that I can sit here in front of the governing board and recommend that you take caution. This is a process that I am going to recommend for consideration, that the board consider accepting the MOU.
Madam President, if I can add on to that, you do see a reference to attachments in this document. The attachments come separately and are approved by this governing board separately, so they are not attached to this. For instance, if you look at attachment 3, it's the certified non-teaching salary schedule. You have approved those salary schedules already. We bring them separately to you, so just to clarify those pieces.
Motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with the Dysart Education Association as presented for the 2025-2026 school year.
Second. Motion carries. And we have an item G7, correct?
Correct.
I need to refresh.
And we do not need Steve for G7, just to clarify.
Oh. Sorry, Steve. All right, moving to item G7, Dr. Croto.
Thank you, Madam President. I stand for questions. I believe, Member Scavera, you pulled this for information and technology, so we will stand for any clarification or questions that you have on this.
Yeah, it's the line item from June 22nd to 27th with the Hewlett-Packard. It's conferences in Vegas. Just wondering why we're sending 4 people.
I will have Ms. Bedell is in charge of this department. I will have her answer that. Ms. Fennell.
Madam President, Member Scabara. So because this is the annual conference that really is the one time that we do send our network operations team, we want to make sure we have all those topics really well covered. So all the 4 areas, so we have a security architect going, our network engineer, as well as our 2 network technicians. And so obviously, they span out to make sure the agenda is fully covered. The rate or the registration rate is entirely covered within our support contract already, so there is no additional cost for that. Regardless if we send 1 or 2 or 5, it's already included within the cost of the contract. And so in order to ensure that that 4-day conference is well covered and versed, we make sure that every single one is going to attend different sessions, and then they come back and bring it back to the IT director just to kind of discuss how they can better support the district overall.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that they're all different positions, so you
Yes.
clarified that. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
If there's no other discussion, I move to approve overnight and out-of-state travel requests as listed.
I second.
Motion carries. This time, I'll ask for if there are any requests for future agenda items.
Yes, Dr. Croto, before I went on vacation, I did ask about presenting for the school extracurricular activities, grade requirements. If we could have a briefing on that soon, that would be lovely. Thank you.
Madam President, Member Distich, I believe I did send the date with that. Hold on, I will tell you when that's scheduled.
I'm sorry, you did. I just remembered, my bad.
I will tell you real quick. I believe it's in our June meeting. And Jenna's telling me it's in the June meeting. So we do have that scheduled, ready to go for the June meeting.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
No problem.
Okay. I move to establish executive session to be held immediately during a recess in the regular meeting.
Second.
It came up. Oh, Denise vote.
I got to vote for what I said. I am so sorry. I can't.
Okay, at this time, we will reconvene the meeting. We'll begin our action discussion, J1. At this time, I move to approve the superintendent's year-end performance evaluation and performance pay in the amount of 18%, reflecting the superintendent has satisfactorily achieved the approved goals for the 24-25 school year.
I second.
Motion carries. This time, I move to adjourn the meeting.
I second.
I vote yes.
I vote yes, sorry.
Are we voting to adjourn verbally? Oh.
I shut down.
Motion carries. We are adjourned.